Hey everybody, welcome back to Commercial Construction Elevate the Industry podcast series, hosted by yours truly, Dave Presida. Again, the purpose of the podcast is to empower you, anybody from an owner to an intern, to empower you to make the best decisions about where you want to go in this business. Now, we're going to accomplish it in two ways. One is with me, yes, yours truly. I've been doing this now for almost 40 years. I've learned a lot through the process, and I want to teach you through the episodes of how to. All the things in business, from sales to business development to starting a business. The second piece is what you're going to see today. It's an interview with an industry leader, and we are really fortunate to have a true industry leader in prefabrication. His name is Dominick Baruffi. Dominic is the president and CEO of Jersey Panel Corporation and Baruffi Brothers in Vineland, New Jersey. Before I let Dominic talk, I want to say just real quick, Dominic's been a friend of mine, a personal friend for over 35 years. And he's the kind of friend where you can pick up the phone after not talking to him for 3 years and it's like you never stopped. So Dominic, give me a COVID shake here. Thanks for doing this. I appreciate it. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, and thank you, David. For the first thing I like to say is when we start giving out numbers is, when you say 35 years, just to let everyone know we were 6 years old when
exactly.
we started there. So, there's someone who's doing arithmetic out there, so glad to be here, David.
Perfect. Look, let's start. For people, most people probably know you, but if they don't, let's describe your business generally as it exists today so people know what you're doing.
Our company today is, we are a regional business that's was founded in 1947. We have two operating companies. One is Baruffi Brothers Incorporated, which is a business that was started by my dad and his brothers at that time. And our second company is Jersey Panel Corporation. And that company was originated in the early 80s as my brothers and I came into the business and moved away from, or forward, I should say, from what my dad was doing at the time. We were an old line plastering company. That's what happened through the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And it was the advent of sheetrock that really made us change, which was a prefabricated product. That basically what I was able to see as a young fellow was able to see a prefabricated product wipe out an industry and take us forward.
So explain that a little bit. How did it wipe out?
Well, obviously, if you're around in the plastering days, and buildings and rooms of all buildings were done by hand, and that was a trade that would an application of rock lath. On top of that was a product called Structuralite, and then on top of that you would shellac the lime, and you would take the lime and you would white coat it. That's what you do, and you would white coat all the walls. And as crazy as that sounds today in 2020, that's how buildings were done. And what that did for me was watch it happen to my family, because it basically wiped out our business, the majority of it, because as a plastering company, we do interior and exterior plastering. Well, the exterior was, we had 5 shades of pencrete. That was all that was in the exterior business, wire lath and pencrete. So it took out all of the interior and everything moved into sheetrock. Well, the sheetrock came along, and if you had, say, 50 people in your high rise that were doing the plastering and all that work I just described doing the building, now all of a sudden you bring sheetrock in, a prefabricated product my dad would refer to as cardboard. Bring this ridiculous product in, because talking to a plaster in the 40s and 50s saying this product. Well, they bring this sheetrock in, and then with 4 or 5 tapers and rock and lathers, you do the whole building. Very much similar to what has transpired in our exterior industry as we've moved away from conventional construction with 50 workers out there on scaffold, now bringing a prefabricated product in, and with a handful of individuals erecting a prefabricated product.
So unlike a couple companies I've been involved with over the years, they started out at plastering and they got into the drywall business. You decided, or your dad, or how did you decide not to get in that business?
That's an interesting story, but a lot of our region and our story goes back to the union and non-union markets. And my dad and his brothers, their company they were down the non-union market path. And there's a lot of particulars and things that happened back in those days. I like to say that those days are done, but there's a lot of things that went on back then, and how business was done, and union and how non-union, and the way that was kind of structured. We just never went into getting involved with the union trades of which became different. Went from a plastering trade to a carpenter trade. And we just kind of stayed out of that. The negative of that for us as a family was that we lost a lot of our business, which through by the time I'm talking around 1970, just to follow a time frame, as sheetrock hit this area, late 60s, early 70s, it hit, and it just hit. And with a matter of 3 to 5 years, there was just no plastering. Well, it took out what was probably 75% of our volume of our work. So we were stuck, and this is during the 70s, we were doing stucco. Well, there wasn't a lot going on in stucco. Now, this is all prior to the exterior industry changing rapidly, when companies such as the Drive-It company and companies like Stowe that came into the business and came to companies like us and said, hey, we have something to show you. That totally revived our business. I can remember as a little kid going to these seminars, and my dad would be up at the front, and he'd be there, like glued to what was going on, and we were in the back playing around. We could care less about what was going on. We were kids. We wanted to go out and have fun. And he was looking at this and saying, "You guys don't get it. This is the future." And as we got more into the business, and we saw we brought these products into the business, and then the good thing of what that really did for us was what the saying is something necessity is the mother of invention. Mm-hmm. Well, because we needed something to do, when they came to us, it was my brother Russell, who he still is to this day. He's brilliant. He looks at things a little differently, and he's the one that had this idea that said, "Hey, listen, I want to do this. I want to take our business into this direction." Of course, actually, for me, I love to say that one thing I didn't want to ever do in my life was just to say, never say never, but I never wanted to work for the family business. So
there you go.
You got to be careful, right? But never say never. But my brother had this idea, and out of college, I actually wasn't working for the family business. I had gone to work for my uncles in a different business.
What business was that?
That was a ready-mix concrete business. My grandfather had started ready-mix concrete in 1946 or something like that. Had started ready-mix concrete, and that was my mom's side of the family. And my uncles continued, and so when I didn't go to work for my dad and for our family business, one of my uncles asked me to come on board, and it was a great opportunity, and I love them, and I was thankful to have that opportunity. But this idea of prefab came up from my brother, and he said, "Hey, I want you to come and look at this." And from the very second he told me this, as much as I didn't want to come back in the family business, this was an idea that intrigued me. Now, this is 1982. I'm talking about again, for the arithmetic, I was 3 years old.
Yeah, exactly.
But to say to my brother, this was a very interesting idea. It was dynamic in '82, so it gave us an opportunity to really, because of the necessity to get into some. Maybe had we gone down the carpentry route, maybe we wouldn't have been so aggressive and eager to get such an early jump on prefabrication. So because of that, we started in early, and it's given us an opportunity to pursue this industry and allow us to do some things a little earlier than the rest of the market is now. Now all of a sudden, I like to say that prefab has become sexy, which is a kind of a crazy term to use with construction. But the idea is it's so exciting now, and many people are jumping on board and getting it because of all the assets and aspects of the business that we bring to the table that conventional construction doesn't have.
So we are going to get into prefab big time, but let's talk about your family, your dad, your uncles. You mentioned both immigrants.
Yes. I was raised, I love to say, but I was raised by immigrants, and I'm proud of it.
Baruffi, where's that?
Very well. My interesting part of our background, my family, my brothers and I, would like to say is my mother was from Sicily, and my dad was from Bologna. Mm-hmm. So that's back in those days, that was an interesting mix because you had northern and southern Italians, mm-hmm. and never shall the two cross, as they. But we're an interesting breed, my brothers and I, because we have two sides. My dad was born in a little town called Lizzano in Belvedere in northern Italy, which would be the Tuscany region of Italy. Came over as a young boy at age 10. And so a lot of what makes us up in our family and my brothers and I is that being raised by those immigrants. And they had a lot of aspects of their life that were just entrenched in who they were, and they raised us a certain way. So my one brother would have a saying, he likes to say that we don't hunt, we don't fish, and we don't golf. What we do is we work. And we laugh when we say it, but the truth is that we love what we do, So yeah, we don't maybe do some of the things that are leisure, but I love my work so much. If that's one thing that people get from me, if you don't get that, I'm surely not coming across appropriately. But we love what we do, and our business, I like to say, reflects it. My friends are my clients, and what I do. When you spend the kind of hours that I do and do what I do as much as I do, if you haven't found a way to like it, you better get out of it.
So you think that trait would be the one thing, if you had to say, I got one trait from my pop, what was it? Work ethic?
Yeah, that's, as immigrants, it's the one thing that they know. And as immigrants, they gave you what they had, and that's probably something that, listen, at those days I didn't like it. And we had a rule in our house: you had to be up by 6 a.m. and out. My dad would not let you sleep. You were just not allowed to do it. To this day, I can't sleep. I can't even sleep near 6 o'clock. At 5 o'clock, I got to be up, and I'm not a big sleeper. But our dad, as immigrants, they just pushed you to do that. And it wasn't something you liked, but many things when you're young in life, you don't like it. But then you see what it does for you later on in your life. I've never lacked for work or desire to work, where some struggle. I don't struggle. And I'm not saying my job is perfect or easy. I don't ever want to come across like that. I can just tell you that I love what I do. That was something I had to adapt to, because that's all we were allowed to do in our house.
You think about it. Immigrants, I think, look at the opportunity to work as just that. It's an opportunity, and they seize it, right? And some other people, they just have to be immigrants, but I think that's part of what they bring, and they see the opportunity here. I think some of the newer generation maybe look at it, and again, I'm not, it's about how you parent and all that stuff. They see it as maybe an obligation, but it's the people, young, middle-aged, old, that love what they do, that really do well. That's a common thing.
Yeah, what a difference. Again, for the immigrants that came over, having a job was a privilege. And there's many stories that my dad had during the Depression of how you would get a job and how you would prove yourself. Some really interesting stories of what necessity provides or creates inside of you. And their desire was just to pass that down to the next generation. Not much different than where you and I are at right now. We're at this time in life where I like to say, I don't think we're old timers yet, but we've been around. And what are we doing now? Everything we're doing throughout our day is seeing how can we now pass on to this next generation? How do we take what we've learned, what we've been given, and pass this on without sounding like an old timer, meaning that we're going to preach them. We don't want to preach, we want to share.
Know-it-alls.
Yeah.
But exactly why we're doing this podcast. You want to give back. So, being in business, and you said you work hard, you work a lot of hours, it's always a question, at least I ask myself, how do you balance family and business?
Well, I spoke of different parts of my family, but very close to home, and the closest part of my heart is my wife, 3 children, a daughter-in-law, 2 beautiful little granddaughters, and I have my daughter is engaged, so I have a future son-in-law now, and it's a part of your life that, look, you talk to a lot of men, and they'll say to you, it is the reason why we do what we do. And so I've been fortunate, when I tell you about my story and I go back to the early days, I have a lot of opportunity with my wife right now. By the way, 35 years this year.
Same.
Is that 35 years? Congratulations.
Magic number.
So 35 years.
Actually, I'm 36. Don't kill me. My wife will see this.
But 35 years, and listen, we talk about all these relationships and all, but I like to say, to me, this is the greatest time in life. So when you talk about 35 years of marriage and after this many years, look, whether you're talking about family business, you're talking about marriage, you're talking about any of these subjects over the years, as my oldest son wrote to me when I was married 25 years. He wrote to me the night of my anniversary. He said, "Dad, in 25 years, it comes with scars." And he was just being honest about life. He was saying, and he was right. Life comes with scars, but thankfully, God's bigger than our scars. And when you could stay at something, and I realize and understand it can't always happen, but I've been fortunate that in my life and with my family, that somehow what my mom taught me was to never quit. So no, I'm not a perfect person. No, I don't have a perfect marriage, and no, I don't have perfect children. I like to say I serve a perfect God, but that's it. I'm fortunate. I have a beautiful wife, and I love her to death. And I'm thankful that we are celebrating our 35th year in marriage, and we have just an absolutely wonderful family. And my children are just they're it's the most encouraging part of my life and what they do. And I could literally stand on a peach basket and talk about each one of them.
You're in a family business. Family dynamics can be interesting. Tell me what your biggest challenges were working in the family business, and then really, elevating yourself to the role that you're in now.
Well, I'm the fourth of four boys, and first of all, I'd love if I got to be careful because I can go down different paths and talk about things that are so important and critical in my life. But I'm the fourth of four boys, three wonderful brothers, the best. I know that that's not typical, and I hear a lot of stories about businesses and brothers working together. And I remember back in '92 a story when I just remember it was '92 because of the specifics about it. But my dad, who was with us at the time, had gone to go pick up material at a local material supplier, and there was a father of that business that owned that company. And the story goes, my dad went up to the counter to pick up the materials, and at the counter they heard the gentleman in the back behind the counter heard that old man Baruffi, that was a term, the old man Baruffi was up at the counter. So he came from around the back and he came up to my dad, and he was kind of like a contemporary of my dad as far as age. And he said to my dad, he said, "Hey, did I hear that you have four boys and they're all in the business and work together?" Because this guy had the similar situation. I think it might even have been five boys. But my dad said, "Yeah, that's right." Kind of like a wise guy said, "That's right. Yeah, I got one." He said, "Well, listen," he said, "how about this?" He said, it was 1992, remember, thereabouts. And he said to my dad, he said, "How about this?" He said, "Instead of me voting for Clinton this year," he said, "how about if I vote for you?" He said, "because if you can have four boys and they're all in the business together, working together, you should be president of the United States." He said. But the idea is, yes, family businesses or relationships that are close or anything like family could be good friends. It does develop a challenge. But, like so many things in life, I like to always say, when I use the word challenge, it dovetails and comes with the word opportunity. And if you can embrace that challenge, I can tell you on the other side of challenge is blessing. Ooh. The kind of things that are beyond explanation of what can happen if you can get past it. Now, look, I realize not everybody can get past it. I realize there's times, and we've had them. My brothers would tell you, we've had our challenges over the years. But thankfully that we've been able to get past them. One person said to me one time, something like, "Don't you and your brothers ever disagree?" I just started laughing. I said, "Disagree? We disagree more by 10 a.m. in the morning than you may be doing your whole life." It's not about do you disagree. It's about how do you find a way to agree and move forward.
Can you respect each other?
Absolutely. And to today, right now, never before have I ever had a relationship with my brothers as close as I am now. Never before have I admired them more or need them more or want them in any way I can describe that more than I do now. And we all work together. All four of us are together, do different things. We're all kind of in different areas. And I am the youngest of four, which is a little bit of a different dynamic. I can't imagine. I've never had a younger brother, so I don't even know what that's like. I can only imagine what a pain that has to be. I can't imagine having me as a younger brother and them having to, literally, I use the word tolerate me over the years, and I'm so thankful that they've not only tolerated me, but they have motivated me like no one else can.
And I think the key, get past the love and respect that's obviously there, is that you're different. You're different. You have different roles in the company. They're all important, right? They all matter, right? I think that's awesome.
Completely different. Yeah, one of the best compliments I ever got in my life was a friend who said one time, he said, "Dominic, I know you and I know your three brothers, and you are all so different." He said, "But at the same time," he said, "there's one thing that you have in common. All four of you have the same heart." And I remember when he said that, I said to him, that's about the highest compliment I can have, because if you knew my three brothers, they have the greatest heart you can ever come across. So thankful for that.
So to you all listening, the family business is alive and well here at Jersey Panel.
Yes,
So, I know this may be tough, but talk to your brothers. Tell them, what do you think of them? Your brothers are going to hear this.
Mom did well.
She did?
She raised 3 great guys. Couldn't be more thankful.
I think you said enough. I gotta tell you that I would describe Dominic using 2 adjectives, and it's almost like an oxymoron. But he is one of the most introspective extroverts that I know, which means, most of the time people are introspective or maybe quiet and shy. He's not. He thinks all the time, and he doesn't mind talking about it. I love that about you.
I'm laughing as you say it. I remember my mom would often say to me, she'd say, "You're always thinking," and I would just laugh and say back to her, "Yeah, where do I get that from?" Because my mom would always do. She'd be thinking all the time about something. She was always, be careful on this, because she was always thinking about somebody.
Right.
And what she could do for somebody. She was always out in front, never stopping. Never stop for me, for the littlest things. For me, whatever she could do for her children, whatever she could do for somebody, she was out there thinking. She never stopped. And so I hope maybe I got some of that from her. I don't think I could ever shine her shoes in her depth of her love and her chase after the people in her life. But the idea of thinking about something, it's kind of like, for me, it's like like some people like to golf and like sports. To me, it's like a hobby. It's like something I just like to do, and I actually can do it and enjoy doing that thought process about, and having the opportunity. People say, "Well, Dominic, you like to talk." I say, "Yeah, I do." You know why? Because I love to share.
Just the fact that you appreciate that stands out to me, and you recognize that you're fortunate. But so are the people that have come in contact with you. So I happen to be one of them.
Thank you so much. It goes both ways. That's all I can tell you, man.
Guten Tag. Anyway, you'll get that in a minute. I've been in the air barrier business for 20 plus years, from when it was a single asphaltic, peel and stick, impermeable membrane to what it is today. It's a big part of the building science. The business has changed. There are several manufacturers in it, but I choose today to deal with Dorken, a German-based company. Not only are they competitively priced, their technical support is great, and mainly, I can always count them. They're there when I need them, in the field or during the bid. The biggest single differentiator between Dorken and other manufacturers is they have a simple system. An example, on a previous job, we have 5 different products to do the same thing that Dorken gives me with 2 products. So Dorken, I thank you for that. My workers thank you. My clients thank you. I would urge you to check Dorken out at their website, dorken.com. That's dorken.com. Tell me about your first panel job. How did it happen? How did it feel? Did you make any money?
What I just chuckle as I'm thinking about the story. I can recall, we were obviously early on. It was the beginning. This is the very beginning. And if I can just share the true story, keeping it brief, because it's just as so many stories are wonderful when they're true. You can't make this stuff up. But we had sold our first panel job, and I was in my mid-20s, maybe something in that range. I'm guessing 25, 26.
What year?
1982, somewhere around there. 80 something. Yeah, I'm 25 years old. Just somewhere around there, 82, 83. And I remember we sold the job. It was my brother Russell and I, and I was the one out there kind of promoting. Russell has always been, he was the hands-on, he was the guy, but it was just us. It was just him and I. We didn't have anything, and we're promoting and showing what we want to do. And this gentleman gave us our first job, and this was a pretty big deal. And I remember when we got this, and you have to know my brother to understand the humor in this. But we had sold the job. It was euphoric for us. It was ready, and we were pulling this together. We were going at this, and I remember saying to my brother right after they gave us our letter or contract for the purchase order, and I said to my brother, I stopped and I said, "Hey, let's take the man to lunch. Can we stop at his room?" I said, "Can we just take him to lunch?" My brother said, and I won't use his exact words, but he said something to the effect like, "You idiot, let's get out of here before he asks us when our last job was." And that was really funny.
That's smart.
That was the very beginning of, because we had done a lot of work up to that. I mean, we were in business, our family, 40 years at that time, but not doing an actual panel. We were doing exteriors, and I had put a book together and I showed all the work that we did, and we did do a lot of stuff. But now we were moving into panelization.
Which is a totally different dynamic.
Totally different. Business, manufacturing is different than contracting. What did we know back then? But fortunately, we didn't know what we didn't know, because maybe had we had known, maybe we wouldn't have done it.
You never answered me when I asked you before. Did you make money on your first job? You just brought it up.
Again,
is that a yes or a no?
We were just at that time so all in, and I speak for my one brother Russell especially, and for myself at the time. We just put our head down. And I don't even think we would have known whether we made money.
And I'm being sarcastic, because that's probably the last thing you cared about at that point in time.
We were very fortunate that things kind of snowballed after that. But honestly, we were so naive. I don't know.
But you didn't know what you didn't know, and it's okay.
Yeah, I think maybe the word stupid would be probably better off than naive. I'm just trying to be polite to ourselves. But look, we didn't know any better, and we just went at this. And, like my dad would say, the harder you work, the luckier you get. And that's what we were doing. We were committed. We were all in. We still are. I believe I speak for all of my brothers as far as how we do life. We're all in. We give it all we got every day, and take it as a privilege to be what I call being in the game.
So all I know is that you were 28 when I did my first job for you. I was, as an erector, was Tropicana, the first Tropicana down in Atlantic City. And like you, that's been a while, like 85, 86?
1985, I would say.
Right. And then prefabrication was more about cost, I think. It was more about the difference between an open shop cost versus a union shop cost for doing in the field, right, with union labor. And I drove the bus then. Now I think it's a little different now, because I think there's more to it. We'll talk the benefits of prefabrication today if you're selling it to an owner versus in 1985.
Well, you have to remember too, difference from 85 to 2020. Like all industries, by the way, not just ours. I always like to say, I think we're last to the party as a construction industry. But like a lot of industries, a lot has evolved. More education has gone into the marketplace. So when you talk about assets and what value does it bring to the table, I mean, different industries have brought technology into it and have been able to not just bring assets to the table, but also been able to promote it, sell it, if you will, or get it out there. Because it's one thing to brand something, but it's another thing to get it out there. So the whole idea of my story in our life goes to the story, we'll get into the prefab and stove panel technology, but being able to take and have a platform to be able to take it forward into the marketplace. Remember, when you're a small regional company, my assets were quite limited as far as what I can do. No matter how much we did or how well or whatever I could do, I was still extremely limited. So the idea of what's happening in prefab right now is kind of twofold. Yes, we have evolved and we have brought additional assets to the table that, like for example, now quality. Quality is probably, I'd like to say, one of the top things we're bringing to the table. Well, to get that mindset to understand to an owner that going from conventional to prefab, you're going to increase quality is an education process. But all these speed, and with the speed that we're going to do, and what happens from a financing standpoint, if you're an owner and we're doing buildings now, we're participating on projects that total construction time, from shovel in the ground to CO is 12 months or less. Well, that's really not something we've seen before when we're looking at conventional construction buildings being anywhere from 28 months to maybe 30 months, in that range. And being able to do that in a fraction of the time right now, it's a paradigm shift in the industry, what's happening from the investment side. So going to an owner like that and having the owner know that is kind of different than going to the architect or the general contractor.
Without a doubt. And I'll say this too, manpower is not getting any better, right? So prefabrication lends itself to less men. You can do more in the shop, less in the field, lean building practices, all those things that you well know. But schedule, as you just stated, schedule is a key driver in our business, because you can enclose the building in a fraction of the time that it takes a carpentry contractor to go out there and put steel studs, right? Make steel studs, get on the scaffold, swings, and do the sheathing. And you do it here. Now, when did you start? So you build a panel that's got what, 16 gauge studs?
It varies based on the structure, but could be in that range.
Exterior sheathing, and now that you're doing the stove, you're doing the stove finishes and everything else.
Air moisture barriers, and then we like to say we have one panel, we have various veneers. So we're not about a material. So whether you like brick or metal, whatever your interest is as a project, we're not about a material. We're not here to talk about a product, though we are affiliated with Stowe, which is a material supply, and we have fantastic materials and a lot to offer to our panel. We like to say that Stowe panel technology and what we do is about a methodology of building a building, which is directly what you're saying, changing that paradigm shift of a schedule, which impacts things like labor and other assets we're bringing to the table. Remember the plastering story. So all of a sudden, if we need 5 workers in the field as compared to 50, that's impacted. Well, then you say, but Dominic, you're talking fast, because we still got to make the panel in the shop, correct? But here's the difference. When you go into a manufacturing operation as compared to a field operation, look, I've been in the trades with my family, and I've seen this all our life. And so here's what happens when you work in the trades in the field. You work one day, and then it rains for 3 and you're off. And then you work another day and and then you're off for another 2. It's very hard for a man or a woman to make a living.
Plus, you can't start until the building's ready.
There's a whole bunch of things that are negative for that. Whereas when we're in the plant, we don't lose a day's work. I've got pictures at times, even in our promotion. Sometimes we'll take pictures where it's, we have 6 inches of snow outside, it's 10 degrees, and we're inside the plant where it's 60 degrees, and men and women are working with short sleeve shirts, and the weather is fine there. That's the whole idea of the concept of prefabrication, or the term that's actually being used a lot today is off-site. Anything that we can do off-site to complete it, so that when we come on-site, we've reduced the on-site time down to a fraction. And back to the plaster and the sheetrock story, it's the same exact thing. Off-site, these companies are creating sheetrock. Bring it to the site, and you have a handful of men and women who are nailing it up on the wall and taping it. Same exact concept here, and it's pretty much across the board for anything that has to do with off-site coming onto on-site. All we've done as Stowe panel technology is perfect that through testing and proof. In some cases, we do have patents and warranties to back us up with our system under a brand.
So you mentioned Stowe Technologies a lot, because I know you're living it now, but let's go back to a date, was it in 2008?
2009.
2009. So to backdrop here, you started out as a plaster, then along comes drywall. You decide not to get in the drywall business. You want to be an exterior contractor. So now you got a couple of manufacturers making the stuff. So now you're on your way. You're doing jobs in Atlantic City. You did the Taj Mahal, right?
Yes.
And many other jobs. Did you get paid?
We did. We did it for our president, and it's a great story. Now, time doesn't permit here, but it's a great story. And yes, we eventually we did, and it was a great opportunity. So Atlantic City in general, for our story, us growing up as a company and as individuals, it gave us a really significant opportunity to do some things that under normal circumstances we would not have had. Taj Mahal had 1 million square feet of exterior on it, which is a fair amount of area for a single job. So it took us to limits. It pushed us as individuals and as a company quite quickly into situations that challenged us, but gave us opportunity to show what we can do.
Awesome.
It could not have happened better for us. So again, going from this idea of exteriors being like nothing to catapulting us through the 80s and then into the 90s of being able to prefab and do, our jobs, as you can look at pictures, I mean, we did jobs well over 300 feet up in the air, 30, 35 stories,
Philly,
all over every market. And our jobs have been of every size and complexity that you can imagine. And so it gave us, again, this platform to go into the marketplace and show what we could do, which was a neat thing. It was an exciting thing to do. Again, I was quite young at the time, not that I'm not young now, but at the time I was quite young, and gave us an opportunity to get out there and do some things that proved two things, not just ourselves or our company, but also about the concept, the idea of prefabrication. So, continuing on, as you said, with Stowe, the way what happened to me with Stowe, I love to say, whenever I speak in front of groups, I like to tell people that I wish I could tell you that I was so smart and I was so forward thinking that I dogged Stowe down. I went after them, and I Googled them, and I chased after them. I'd love to say that, but I'd be lying. The truth is, I did from 1991 to 2009. I was on a quest to take this idea to whatever heights it could go. I was completely unsuccessful. And I literally traveled the globe, and I mean the globe, to try to take this idea to do what we now call Stowe panel technology. I was not successful. And I kind of gave up on the idea. After a few opportunities and getting close in situations to do it, I never was able to connect with what I was told by a consultant at one time to look for what was called a strategic investor. And so I had given up because I wasn't able to connect. The idea just wasn't getting any traction. I would talk to people and they wanted to invest and give me capital. And I said, I didn't need capital. I wanted a strategic partner where I could partner with and take this forward. And it was in 2009 is the story where I was, I'd like to say I was sitting in my office. And that day in 2009, my life changed when this company, Stowe, I got a phone call that our distributor for the company wanted to stop in and say hello.
And Stowe
is a material supply company. They are an international company that's based out of Weizen, Germany. And they're an industry leader with absolutely the best reputation, the best products. And I came to find out the best people in the industry. I was not using them, not for any reason at the time when this occurred. The call that came in was to stop in and say hello to us, and I thought that was kind of a cool thing. The CEO's in town, he wants to say hello. I really thought it was going to be a 5-10 minute hello, how are you? Really nice meeting you. I wish you well, you wish me well, and let's go about our separate ways. And so that day I was in my office, I was approached by a man, his name is David Boyven, and he was at the time the CEO of the company. And he approached me, he came in, it was a really cool moment. I got to meet him, and if you know David, has this big smile and came in, how you doing? And he said to me, hey, listen, I wanted to meet you. I heard you all are doing something. We don't get it, we don't understand it, but somehow you and your company is doing it. You're successful at it, you keep doing it. Some people get in the business, some people go out. We have no idea. How does this work? What's going on? Please tell me, because I'm intrigued, but we don't know what you do. And so it was a day I like to refer to it. It was one of the highlights of my life that day, and will always be for two reasons. Number one is that day was the beginning of what changed my business life. And it gave me a personal opportunity, it gave my family a business. It's radically impacted who Jersey Panel is today and what we're doing, and the platform that we get to stand on and what we get to affect. Today, it's 11 years later. From that date, we did not sign our agreement till July 1st of 2011. But 9 years after that date, now 2020, we now have 30, as of today, 36 affiliates in 8 countries. By the end of this year, we could have, by the end of this year, 40 affiliates in 10 countries. That's a totally different impact.
For those that don't know about the Stowe program, how would you summarize what it means and why you did it?
Well, I guess I would just end up finishing my last statement as I answer that, why I did it. Because the second thing that happened that day was I gained one of the best friends you could ever have.
He's a good man.
It's just an incredible, committed individual to his business, to the Stowe company, to progress. His understanding, his intellect is at a level that I just can't get to. I always tell him I'm eye candy in our relationship. He has me for the looks, and he's the brains in what we do. But love him to death. So just in general, the program, I like to refer to.
You're the executive director.
Personally, I am the executive director of the program. When we started in 2011, we had one affiliate, Jersey Panel.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a second hat. I am the CEO of Jersey Panel. But the way we did that was we kind of we took the products of Jersey Panel and we rebranded them. So Stowe took my intellectual property of many years of doing this, and we rebranded everything, retested it, put it through the Stowe filter, if you will, and came out with our program of products. And then the program began. What is the program? What was or what is the program right now? Is the program, I like to describe it as it is a comprehensive program. What does that mean, comprehensive? One of the things I like to say tongue-in-cheek is we're not about a panel. And that's kind of a funny thing to say when you're talking to somebody. Say, wait, it's Jersey Panel, Stowe Panel technology. You're saying it's not about a panel. Well, it's kind of tongue-in-cheek because we obviously we have panels, but the idea is we're so much more than that. We've become a program that's comprehensive. Because, again, the way I describe it is we're about a methodology to construct a building. And so we're not about a material. We're not even about a panel. We're about a network of companies, for the first time in history, by the way, that have come together under one umbrella, under the Stowe name, and we pull all the assets and the resources of Stowe, of the affiliates, and we come together now to blend that together to do things that you cannot do alone. You know, we have a saying in our church, better together, and the idea is what you can do together is radically different than what you can do independently and set apart. So when we've come together, and it started off in 2011 with one affiliate, and it rapidly increased as I went out and was able to go into the marketplace to meet contemporaries like myself. Because I have to tell you, I was quite frustrated. In 2009, if I finished that meeting of what happened that day when David Woodman came in, if David were sitting here, this would be the point where he would start, getting on me, and he'd say, well, Dominic was arrogant that day. And I say, no, I wasn't arrogant. I was being honest because I was frustrated. And I said to him, like, what are you all doing? What are you doing for a living? Like, I don't get, we sell these jobs and everybody comes in the door to sell me material because we sell large jobs. We buy in bulk and we discount our bills. I said, I don't need you then.
I need a strategic partner.
And that's what I needed you last year. So this was where it was intriguing to Dave. He said, well, this is great. This is an idea. How do we do it? And so I just started telling him my ideas and how we could do it. And I said, what would it look like? Think about this. What would it look like if we did what every other industry in the world is doing, by the way? Because I said to him, looking at those two cards, I said, look at that card and look at my card. I had them side by side. And I said, do you know if you went out and got a monkey and put him in front of those two cards, that 10 out of 10 times, the monkey would grab that one. Why? Because it had the brand on there. It was Stowe. And I referred to the Jersey Panel card. I referred to these guys. I said, they're really nice guys. Actually, I said, they're good looking guys. I said, but that's it. I said, when you put them alongside Stowe, Stowe is the name. It's the brand. It's internationally known.
And it's a good brand, but it's a lot more than a brand. Because let's say I'm a drywall contractor and I realize that prefab is the way to go. And I hear about Stowe. I hear about Dominic. And I call Dominic. I say, Dominic, I want to become an affiliate. And you consider it. What does the affiliate get from being associated with Stowe as part of the affiliate group?
It gets the opportunity to literally change their business and do something that, just like for me, my situation the same. It gets the opportunity to participate in something that, to these companies, it's something that's new to them. It's something they've heard about. It's something they know they want to do, but they also know that doing anything new comes with a risk. How do you do it? Okay, and in some cases, as business owners, you have to invest at times millions of dollars to build building or build manufacturing, whatever, build job, and then you do a job. And now the biggest thing is the risk to reward on the job. And just like myself, just like our company, my brother and I, I think early on, look, the whole impetus behind Stowe Panel Technology was really predicated upon this point here. And that is to take the mistakes that we made. And I'm not here to brag to say this. Fortunately, by the grace of God, I can laugh and talk about it, but we made it through. We lived through some crazy situations, but we've made it through, and now we're able to stand up. And the idea behind Stow Panel Technology was to take that experience, brand it, package it, and then provide it to somebody. So that if they want to go get into this business,
Here's the learning curve.
Instead of going out there and doing the same dumb things that I did and mistakes I made, we're going to pass on to you. We're going to give you a program, and we're going to work alongside you. So the idea of what we do in Stow Panel Technology is together we partner with our affiliates every single day of my life. Jersey Panel, myself, and what we're doing in the program is sharing what we have and what we do with the greatest group of men and women. Please, I challenge anyone, go to our website, look at these companies. These are the best of the best. These are the companies out there that are companies that are have many of them been in business, some longer than us. We're 73 years in business. We have one affiliate that's been in business 90 some years. But these are wonderful companies and individuals that are changing the industry and participating in, but they're doing it major projects in months of being in the program, getting involved in major projects because we're partnering with them in many different ways where they're doing things literally in months. We have an affiliate last year that came on board within 3 months, is doing a major high-rise project. We're partnering with them in what they're doing.
And they're doing it successfully without going through the school of hard knocks that cost you so much time and money.
Look, I like to say in 1982, 83, if there was a Stow Panel Technology at that time, and had I been able to participate and do that as compared to doing it on my own, I have no idea. I said I'd probably have so much money I'd be on a beach somewhere floating and drinking a drink with an umbrella in it and not be here, because we did take it on the chin numerous times. And again, we made it, we got through. But now, like so many things in life at this stage, we say, how do we take those? I use my friend Michael Vickery's quote when he says, lessons learned is where I lost money. Is where what it means.
That's what it equates to.
Yeah, exactly. You're taking that. And so how can I share with you so you don't have to lose money doing that? You can just go forward with this. You can just take this opportunity. Because listen, when you go out there and you do something, and David Boyden told me this at the beginning, many things he learned in his life, if you do something new and you have a mistake, it takes you a long, long time to recoup. Sometimes when David was saying, how come people get in this business and get out? Because most of them, they get out because it was such a debacle. Well, now look at our affiliates that get into this business and just have a straight line up because we're holding hands, working closely together on everything from developing a job to engineering the job, manufacturing the job, loading the panels, shipping them, erecting the panels, and even, dare I say, accounting.
So what do you look for in a potential affiliate?
That's a great question, and I like to say, we have affiliates or potential affiliates that come in and want to interview us about looking at our program, what they want to do. I usually like to say at the same time, we're doing the same thing in reverse, because to answer your question, what we're looking for is, number one, we're looking for companies that, and I know this might sound simple, but we're looking for companies that are looking to grow. Number two, what we're looking for is a company that has a very strong client base. Really, I can stop there, because this is what happens. Once you get to that point, I'm going to bring you everything else you need. If you want to grow, by the way, I should say grow / you want to grow and include prefab. It has to include prefab. Of course. But if you're going to include prefab and grow, we're going to bring you in the program everything you need. You don't have to have a building. I tell my affiliates, and I've encouraged some of them, don't build a building. We'll talk to you in the program how we'll manufacture the panels. We have some affiliates that love the fabricating side, some that love the developing side, and we work together and we partner together. Jersey Panel within some years has used as many as 5 different affiliates working with us together, fabricating with us. We all work for each other. Remember, we're under one umbrella. Listen, this is an incredible story, not because of anything to do with me, but it's an incredible story of what we've been able to do and put together a group that has not been matched in the world yet. And no one is doing a program like this to work comprehensively together on every level, so that when I go to market today, I don't have one plant to work with. I have at least 4 or 5 plants to draw from to do work of wherever I want to work at. Same thing with engineering, same thing with all the other assets that we have. We're all working together now. That puts us in a level that's different than the independent. All due respect to the independents that are out there, I wish them well, but it's a different time right now. And I believe what we're doing in Stow Panel Technology is a beginning, by the way. We have a long way to go, but I think you're going to see the industry move into a direction, just like we see coffee, like we see hotels, and we see hamburgers. coming together under a program approach to it so that you can meet the needs of the industry that's out there under a brand.
That's perfect. Mark Twain once said, and I'm serious, it's the clothes that make the man. Naked people have little or no influence on society. The wardrobe was provided by Benchmark Clothiers, custom clothes to fit your lifestyle. You can find them on Facebook and Instagram at Benchmark Clothiers. And when you go there, tell them Dave sent you. How, I ask everybody this, so I'm going to ask you the same thing. How would you, Dominick Baruffi, define success personally and in business? What's your definition?
Well, listen, as my job as a CEO or an executive director, I obviously have, call them benchmarks, or I have milestones. I have statistical, analytical side of what I do. And so I have in my job, I have to produce, and there's numbers associated with that. Can't get around that. That's the very hardcore business textbook side of what we do. So I'm proud to be profitable and be able to grow the business. And so whether that comes in size and or profitability, I do tell you that part of my answer would be I believe in profits. So I'm not as concerned about numbers and size, though I respect and I appreciate the things we've been able to do both in our two operating companies, Baruffi Brothers and Jersey Panel, as well as in Stowe Panel Technology. Excuse me. When you have 36 affiliates in 8 countries and moving to 40, that's a pretty cool thing on the numbers side. And I would say to you that has to be part of my answer, but it goes way beyond that. And I'd have to say that there's a lot of feelings I have and opinions that I have that are very personal, that are ends up in the spiritual category of what is success to me. But it comes from being who God calls you to be and living that life and proving it day in and day out. See, I never thought, even as a little kid, I never thought that you had to, excuse my French, but screw somebody in order to succeed. I truly believe, I like to quote Horst Schultz. I met him last year, and if you know who he is, the founder of Ritz-Carlton, but he says for something to be right and for it to be good, it's got to work for all three. And all three is for the company, the employee, and the customer. And I believe that with all my heart. I think, some might say, well, Dominic, that's like you're saying have your cake and eat it too, or that's wishful thinking. No, I believe it's possible. I believe it's real. And I'll stand on that, and I'll say that I believe what Jersey Panel does, when you can bring value to your customer. And I don't want to sound like, a miracle drug here or anything, but look, in prefab, we do bring an answer. And I'm excited to bring that answer to clients, whether that's to an affiliate or company that wants to become an affiliate and bring them opportunity, or whether it's to take that to an owner of a project or to an architect or a general contractor who's got a question saying, we don't know how to do this. And when you can deliver that, there is a good feeling that you get out of being able to bring somebody something that they want. So there's value in that. It doesn't come from having to do something that's going to be negative to one and positive to another. I'm sorry if I sound naive, but I just don't believe that. I've made a career on being able to stand in front of somebody, look them in the eye, and commit to them and be able to deliver. That's the way we've centered our business. Our family has been that way. We do that day in and day out with our clients that we have. We develop this relationship. I still believe in that. I believe in shaking hands. I believe in looking people in the eyes. I taught my children that way. That's still the essence of what business is all about and what character is all about. So there's many ways to describe what is success, but it has to. I laugh, I have a board meeting, and those that are on my board, and I love them to death. Many are family, and I have one individual that I often quote. I just love him to death. He's been such a mentor to me over the years. He's a cousin of mine, and I say when I go into the board meeting, I said, the first thing I do in the board meeting is we go through our numbers and all that, and I say, listen, once I can show you my profits, this one board member, I turn to him and I say, listen, he's okay for me to talk about anything. I could talk about all my ideas and all the things in the future after we talk about profits. So the idea is, profits as a CEO You can't keep coming back every year with excuses and say, well, COVID, or, I have to go to my board meeting this December. And if I go in that board meeting and I mention COVID, I'm going to get kicked in the backside and kicked right out. So get out of here. I got to go in there and say, despite COVID, this is what we did. And I'm proud to say that is what I will say this year in our meeting, because we did not take our eye off the mark. We did take the hit like everybody did in the different ways, dealing with the emotions and all that, but we didn't take, and with an incredible bunch of individuals, both at Jersey Panel and at Stowe Panel Technology, we have not taken our eye off the mark.
You've adjusted.
We adjusted to it. We did what we had to. We do a lot more today, and it is changing now. We are doing a lot more personal, but we've changed to use a lot more of the technology today. But even in the midst of COVID, Jersey Panel will have a very good year this year. And even in the midst of COVID, Stowe Panel Technology will grow at over 20% and projects at over 50%. These are incredible statistics, by the way. But we did that while the world was losing their mind. We didn't lose our mind, because I don't think we're in a new time, by the way. I don't think these are uncertain times. My personality will start to come out here, and I will be careful not to get into politics, but I don't believe these are uncertain times. I believe that every day is an uncertain time. I believe that last year, and I believe next year is going to be uncertain, because I don't think certainty is up to us. I think certainty is something in God's hands, not mine. So we'll stay focused on what we do. We give it all we got. We wake up in the morning. We're safe. We try to be safe. We do what we should do. But keeping our eyes on the mark has put us in a position where we will, and we are in a position right now, both as an affiliate and both as part of a program, for one of the most dynamic times I've ever seen in our industry. And I can't wait to be a part of what's going on.
I'm getting excited about it. That's cool. Listen. We had a little discussion before the interview, and Dominic was approached by somebody to write a small article about a job you had just done. And they said, Dominic, you got to do it in 100 words. Can you write the article? And he said, I'm going to quote you here. He goes, no problem writing the article. The problem's going to be the 100 words. So I'm going to challenge you.
Yeah.
In 100 words or less, tell me what you want your legacy to be.
Oh boy.
And that's why I'm only giving you 100 words.
Yeah, it's probably I got to say to you first, when I hear the word legacy, it's a word that I couldn't even identify with for the longest time. I didn't understand it, because I think legacy is a strong word. Legacy, like, I mean, legacy, how could I even have a legacy? But I think it is, what you're talking about is a responsibility that we have.
How are people going to think of you?
And two things, how are they going to think of you? But what did you leave them with?
What did you leave behind?
What did you leave? And so look, for all of us, we think of our family, we think of our children, and then it goes beyond that. It goes to your friends, to your people you know, to society, to a business, to an industry. And I would hope that, simply put, to use 100 words less, simply put, you leave a place better than it was before you were there. That would be obviously number one. Number two, I would hope that our focus and our attention, our priorities that we show what we leave is, dare I say, the right things. As I still believe in right and wrong, and maybe that's showing my age, but I do believe there's a right and wrong. And I believe a priority of knowing that there's a God who's in control. That if you stay committed and you stay focused, as my mom taught me, the one thing was, don't ever quit. That's the one thing. Just never, ever quit. My pastor said one time, there's a time to quit. It's just not right now. So whatever you're doing, embrace it. If God gives you the energy and the opportunity, take it and run with it. I can say again, my fortunate in my life, I don't know how I got to do some of the things I'm doing right now. I obviously had little to do with it. Who brought David Boyman into my office that day? It wasn't me. But I am the benefactor from David Boyman and Stowe giving me an opportunity to do something that I'm doing. So
Dominic, sometimes the definition of luck is when opportunity and preparedness meet. The two. You were prepared. You wanted that. You just didn't know how it was going to come. So when it showed up at your door, you recognized it. I want to thank you for doing this. This has been a great, more than peeling back the onion here. This is wholesale stuff, and I appreciate it. I hope that you listeners have gleaned some things from Dominic and his story. There's a lot there. I've been a part of it. I've seen you grow. I've grown with you. And I look forward to many more years of that. So again, thank you so much for doing this.
God willing, I hope, Dave, we have, I'd like to say, there's sayings like, the best songs have yet to be sung or written. And I really believe we're at a cool time. It's an interesting time. I hope both my involvement with you, as well as my involvement with the Stowe Corporation, my personal companies, the affiliates that we're working with, I hope we're on the verge of, and I trust that we are. I believe it's going to happen. It's going to happen in the very short order as we continue to move forward. There's some exciting, dynamic things on the table right now. So I thank you for this opportunity to share with you a little bit about our story and about our companies and what we're doing.
I'm excited. Let's go.
I look forward to what we're going to do together.
Thank you.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you.
Elevate, 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 elevate.
All the music for the episodes, including our theme song Elevate, was provided by DMV producer Trey Skills. If you like what you heard, follow Trey Skills on Instagram at Trey Skills, TREYSKILLZ. That's TREYSKILLZ. So follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Elevate Industry. Check out my YouTube channel at Commercial Construction, Elevate the Industry. Visit my website, adicorp.com, ADICORP.com. Go to LinkedIn, search for David Procida, hit connect, and follow me. Please rate, review, and comment on this episode, and I look forward to seeing you next week.